Welcome to this video on the new plastic 10.5cm artillery battery for the Africa Corps. Now that's for mid-war, and as you know that's version 4. So there's a box, very attractive, with some good ideas on the front there for how you might want to paint or might want your completed figures to look. So let's have a look inside. Let's start with the most important things here. I think is going to be the gun itself. Now, my first impressions are, so that's a bit of a kink in that one. That might be a problem, I don't know. But there you've got two barrel selections, so you can use that as early or late. The wheels, and two different versions of the wheels as well. The gun shield is all one piece, which is good, as is the trail. And then it's good to see you've also got some ammo crates, and they're always good for adding a bit of character around the bases. So all in, I'm quite happy with how it looks. It looks as though it should go together very easily. There's some nice details such as bolts visible on the gun shield and the trail and so on, and also some shells, so you can have them lying around once again for adding a bit of character. So I'm liking the look of that. I'm quite excited about getting that put together and painted. So what else have we got? So you've got your cards, and you can see like there's a Panzer II OP, as well as a battery, and likely there'll be some force building information in that as well. 4 bases. Now these have got the holes for the crew, which is good and bad. It's convenient in many cases, but there's times where you may be obliged to position the gun in a way that you can't put something else on the base, such as digging it in, like sandbags or so on. I don't think that's a problem with these guys. I think they'll be okay, but there you go. 4 bases, some plugs to help fill in those unwanted holes, and then 4 sets of crew. Now these are the plastic that everyone's been talking about. Now they're absolutely nothing like the Airfix plastic that people refer to when they're talking about what they did in the old days and barrels bending and paint chipping off. What that will mean in reality though remains to be seen. I mean, that there may well, if it's caught, lose some paint. It's very thin, but you also notice it's very straight, so it's not so bad. The guys in cell, a couple of them have got shorts, so they're themed for North Africa, but you could easily use these in Europe as well. I don't think anyone's going to complain if you painted them up for Europe. I'm just looking at the detail on the faces because I know there's been complaints about a lack of detail. Well, you know, I've painted these already for the 88s and also for the British equivalent, for the 17 pounder or 25 pounder, and I find no difficulty in finding detail on the faces with my style of painting. And you see that the pockets are clearly defined pockets, clearly defined folds in the clothing. So you really need to try these guys out yourself to see if you're happy with how they look, in particular with regards to your own painting style. But I'm quite looking forward again to painting some more of these guys. So there you go, that's what's in the box. Lots of exciting things to look forward to, and I shall come back to you to show the construction. So I've built a couple, got a feel for any issues I've got to be aware of. I've moved these components from the sprue. Now there's a bit of mould line on the outside as well as the obvious ones on the inside of the trail, so just make sure that you get that. If you don't, they're probably going to catch the eye when you apply a wash. Be careful with the gun shield. There is a small shield at the opening. I'll try and bring that up so you can see. Very easy to break that, especially when you're cutting it away or removing any excess sprue, so be careful with that. The wheels came off okay. There was no parts that overly stressed when they were being removed. So I'm going to start by adding the gun, actually. So, excuse me one moment. Now, I'm actually going to I put a bit of glue on there already, but hopefully, excuse me, you can see that I'm just going to make sure that the front is as flat as possible. As you'll see in a moment. I want that to have contact with the gun shield. So, I always like to work on these things whilst everything is with the glue setting up. Now there's a couple of guide holes for the gun shield, so you get it in the right place, and then I'm going to push it back onto the gun. And I want it to make contact in here. That's for a bit of extra support. Got to make sure the gun itself is pointing straight. There you go, that's the gun shield on, and then the wheels, nice and simple. There are three sort of locator, what would you call them, you know, where it feeds the plastic in. Three areas you would cut the wheel off on. So I always, where possible, put the area that's cleanest to the top. That's what's going to catch the eye most. And there you go, it's very, very simple build. Glad to see that the trails, what the hell do you call them, for the gun stops, are all one piece as well. So you don't have to worry about sticking them on like you do in the metal kits. So I've got one more to do, and then I'll move on to airbrushing. Incidentally, there's very little cleanup required across the kits. Mould lines are really quite neat and tidy, so you're not going to be wasting a lot of time on these guys before you get into the more exciting stuff, which is, for me, the painting. So I've completed the airbrushing. Now you can see there's a degree of modulation on it. It's nothing too strong because it's not that big a piece. But there's highlights on the top, going down towards shade on the bottom. And the colours I used was, for the shade, the base coat was German Camel Beige 821, that's Vallejo. And then the main coat is Panzer Aces from Vallejo, that's 340 Highlight Africa Core. And then the highlight colour from Vallejo again, Moro Colour 819 Iraqi Sand. Now they were all used in the airbrush and thinned. It's more or less 50-50 with perhaps a little bit more of this than the paint, but I'm never that exact when I mix it, so 50-50 is a good measure. And it's the airbrush thinner. It's not the thinner that comes in a small bottle that you'll get off the rack along with the rest of the paints. This is airbrush thinner, and it's like water. Highly recommend it. if you're going to be doing any airbrushing. I always mix my own colours as opposed to buy the model air colours, airbrush colours, sorry, because I can get the exact colours that I need. And in a bottle like this mixed with this will last forever as well. So anyway, I gloss varnished it after I airbrushed it, so it's ready for a wash. Once I've completed the wash and let it dry, I'll go in and strengthen up the highlights, because there will be a degree of highlight lost as a result of the wash going on, and I want to strengthen the modulation. So I'm going to be using an enamel wash. In this case it's Haycare Interactive enamel wash for NATO camo vehicles, but it's basically a dark wash, a black kind of wash. Now, when I'm working with washes, they can very easily spill. So I've already given this bottle a shake and I've let it settle just for a minute. And then I'm sticking it onto the top of my ceramic palette. You can see, tempting fate here, but it's not budging when I hit it. If that was just sitting on the tabletop, that much of a nudge and it's going everywhere. And enamel wash, because it's got a thinner in it, really goes everywhere. So the initial part of the process when I am applying an enamel wash is to do what I call keying the surface. So I take some thinner and I apply it to the area that I'm going to put my wash onto. This kickstarts the, I just have to move this, I just don't want it in shot. See, there we go. It kickstarts the capillary action, and that's why enamel washes are very good for pin washes. Now this is coming out really quite dark because I've only recently shaken the bottle. And that's one reason why I'm starting on the wheels, because they are they're going to be quite dark. There's going to be a lot of shade on them. So I'm not going to start on an area with lots of small bolt heads. So let's just prepare the surface again. A bit more paint. And you can see I'm touching it to the various features and allowing the capillary action to draw it out. Now I can leave that for a minute. It's going to need just to settle down a bit, and then I'm going to draw off the excess. So I'm going to do, no actually I really need to do the same on the inside, so I'll quickly do that. And the inside, I am not overly concerned about how neat and tidy it is. I really just have to make sure that it's suitably dark. So let's look at the barrel. Now there's a lot going on here. You've got the barrels, the recon mechanism, nuts and bolts and all kind of things. So behind the gun shield you've got all the various workings of the gun, the sights, elevation, traverse, all those kind of things. And there's even a bit of detail on the back of the gun shield, but I'll leave that just now actually. I'll stick to the gun itself. So tiny little touches. I just want to capture all this detail without darkening the surrounding area too much. Okay, let's go on to the rest of the barrel. See, that's far too much. I'll dare and go straight into the thinner. I'm just going to start taking that off. And I need some tissue to hand. So I put thinner on it, and when it was not such an intensive wash, I basically drew it off and then reapplied it. Right, let's have a look at the wheels again. So I'm going to take some thinner, and what I want to do is work paint off of the raised areas and into the recesses. That includes the rim, and here the fingers quite often are a very good tool to employ. Now I just need some shading here. I don't want the inside sort of painted black, so to speak. It's going to be weathered anyway, but that shade will help establish the shape of all these little components that make up the wheel. And we'll try to draw shade off of the lighter areas and into the darker areas. And then I'll do the same with the various components of the gun. Drawing off the flat areas into the recessed areas. I'm cleaning my brush and refreshing it so that I've got control over what's on the brush. There's a little spill, so I have to deal with that. It'll stay workable. Because it's enamel, it'll stay workable for quite some time, but the longer you've got it sitting on a flat surface, the darker that flat surface is going to become. So I'll do the gun shield. You can see the capillary action just draws it out. Lots of little rivets to capture here. You'll see other people leaving their wash on and returning to it when it's dried up a bit. I prefer to just leave what I need and not have to come back to it. I've drawn some off there, there's a little bit thinner. And try and get this wash off the flatter areas and onto the areas that I want shaded. I am painting this sideways, folks, so it's not the best angle for me. A little bit of work on the lower shield. I'm going to take some of that paint that's on the brush and just try and strengthen some of these areas that are not strong as they could be up there. Along the bottom of the shield there as well. And then I'm just going to try and be pushing back some of that shade. So you can see it's quite fiddly around all these little features, little bolt heads and such likes. So I'm going to just repeat the process over the legs, and I'll show you the finished result when all the guns are done. So the pin wash is dried. What I want to do now is raise the highlights a little bit at this stage and try and accentuate the modulation to a degree, and I'm going to do that by using some fairly wet applications of the highlight colour, the Iraqi sand colour. So you'll see this is quite a wet mix I'm putting on here. I'm just going to dry the brush off a little bit, and then I'm going to draw this down the side of the barrel. Got to move quite quick on this. As you're probably aware, acrylic paint dries really quickly. And aim here is not to draw the paint off the top of the barrel, but to draw it down the sides. Now there is a bit of an awkward area under the barrel for the recoil mechanism. Dry it off a bit, then draw some of it down. Same on the other side. Now that's got a bit of highlight on top of the barrel, and also faded out the darker areas as well. So I'm just going to do some similar work on the breech, just on the top of the breech, fade out towards the edges. So I keep going off to the side there from my palette, and then I want to do something similar along the top with this thinned paint. This should be quite bright. This little raised shield, I'll put some across the top of that. Some of these raised features here, I'm not sure what these are for, guys. A little bit across the top. As you can see, it's almost a wash as it's going on. I'm not going to put any around all these bolts because we're just going to obscure any shading. Right. Along the front of the lower part of the gun shield, and then draw it down, and you can see it gives a nice faded streaky look. Once again, I'm kind of painting sideways here, so please excuse me if my lines go off a bit. Now there's going to be additional chipping and highlighting to go on top of this, but that's the general effect. And I'm going to repeat that on the wheels, the spokes of the wheels. I'm not going to do it on the spades. That'll get highlighted and chipped, and it's a bit too busy in amongst all these bolts on the trail, so I'm not going to bother doing any on them. So the next time you see these guys, I'll have finished the highlighting and fading process, and I'll be ready to do the chipping, which will be really heavy, as these are going to be themed as Panzer Grey painted for the desert and worn down in that really harsh environment.